Hello, my name is Matthew, and we're reading The Magic Mountain together by Thomas Mann. And so much has happened since we've last talked. Our hero Hans has now extended his stay at the sanitarium. His initial plan to visit his cousin Joachim, who is a patient at the sanitarium, has turned into a much longer stay. We find that Hans is ill. He's not as healthy as he had first described himself. And he now believes that he'll stay for an additional 6 months, which will be equivalent to the time that his cousin Joachim believes that he will be staying as well. And as a result, we see our hero start to accept the conditions and surroundings that he's found himself in. He is participating in the routines and activities at the sanitarium. He's now more interested and invested in the other patients and doctors, the people that he's interacting with daily. He's raising less objections. He's not complaining as much. And we start to see these really great schoolboy episodes, these routines that keep coming up each day at the sanitarium. The woman who would always come in late into the cafeteria, she would very rudely leave the door swung open so that it would slam shut behind her and cause a big bang and disruption in the cafeteria. At first, he was so annoyed and perturbed by this woman, and as it goes along, he gets a little bug in his brain, and he wants to know more about her, and he gets interested. He wants to just investigate, and it is so similar to children roaming the halls of a school and trying to coordinate schedules so he can attempt to have interactions with this woman. So he knows that she always comes to the cafeteria late, so now he's making excuses with his cousin as to why he needs to stay in his room a few minutes longer, in an attempt to maybe catch her at the doorway or just outside of the cafeteria, or maybe meet right at the same time. He'll show up late and she's still not there, and he'll come up with a reason why he has to leave again. Eventually, he catches her while he's pretending to leave the cafeteria to go back to his quarters. He'll pass her on her way into the cafeteria, and the first time she gives him a scowl, the second time she gives him a look. And so we just get to see these two form a very unlikely relationship, and they eventually Hans becomes infatuated with this woman, and then eventually he believes that he's in love with this woman, and we get some really great scenes. He embarrasses himself and other things happen. It's just great. There's another scene that I think is so stark and powerful with the message and imagery, which is Hans and Joachim, who need to visit the X-ray room. They're going to have their X-rays taken, and we're told that the X-ray room is at the bottom of the sanitarium. It's in the basement, and you have to descend down into the sanitarium to get into this X-ray room. But the sanitarium is built on a mountain slope, so as you descend down into the depths of the sanitarium, when you finally get to the basement, you're still at ground level as a result of the way in which the building has been constructed on this slope. So as you go down, you find that you're still above ground level, or just a little bit below ground level, which just makes me think of all of these sick patients who are going to be who are the living dead. They have these fatal afflictions, and they are just barely away from their grave. And so we see Hans and Joachim alternately have their X-rays taken, and the way that it is administered is much more cavalier than it would be today. They're still cautious, but everybody's sort of in the room with these X-rays, and they're seeing the images, and I just can't imagine how much wonderment there must have been at this time period with the medical advances and new technologies, and this instrument that can see through solid objects, and we can see inside of our bodies, and we have these two characters looking at their bones and organs. They can see their skulls and the bones in their hands. I can't remember one of them. I think Hans is wearing a ring, so he can see this elemental piece of jewelry just hanging over a bone. And for both of them, for Hans, it brings on these it has these evocations of his own mortality. It looks like death. He's seeing his skull. And I can't get past the fact that the amount of wonderment and possible terror that these characters must have felt seeing inside of their bodies and seeing their own bones, it must still be the same feeling for people today, even though the technology and these sorts of images have become much more ubiquitous and common. We can internet search these things, and we've seen them. We've all been to the dentist's office and seen x-rays of our teeth. But to be terminally ill, to know that you have a very high likelihood of dying because of your affliction, and then to see inside of your body and see your bones today, when it's your own chest cavity or your own brain, the reaction, the feeling, I believe just must be the same. You're looking at your own fate. Those are your bones. It's just an incredible, eternal, timeless sensation that this X-Ray Room episode kind of brings about. A couple other things that just amused me is, now that Hans is staying, and he's talking to the Italian about his living quarters and how it's cold. They keep the sanitarium very chilly. And on his first day or two, when Hans realized that it was freezing, he was going to go to the store and buy a blanket. And his cousin recommended that he buy a fur-lined sleeping bag. And Hans just brushed it off and said that was just too high of a purchase for someone that's only staying for 3 weeks, and that he'll totally be satisfied with just having a blanket. And now that Hans is going to be staying for months now, he's talking to the Italian, and the fur-lined blanket is now making a lot of sense. This is going to be a good, sound investment, a smart purchase. And the Italian and Hans are talking, and they have these philosophical conversations. And one of the things that they bring up is the idea of getting used to something, to have these unnecessary or inevitable annoyances or bothers that you have to get used to. And one of the things that they bring up, one of the points, is that sometimes you never get used to it, but you can get used to that. They say you get used to not getting used to it. And so Hans is now fully accepting his surroundings at this point. He's decided that he's going to be uncomfortable and he has to live with that. He's bothered and annoyed and impatient and still having that restless feeling, but other priorities, other things have happened that have told him that he has to accept the life that he has. And this book is full of big ideas and profound thoughts, and it has symbols and parallel themes running through it. And I love that with these specific examples, grounded situations, we get to see how those kinds of big ideas and profound thoughts and symbols play out in a real life example. Here's a man that was going to have a fast track, busy life. He had all these big hopes. He had to get back to his home. And little by little, he has to just deal with the situation that he's in. And being upset and being bothered and impatient does him no good. And we're seeing that in these really great situations that are playing out. I'll kind of end there. There's so much else going on. There are all sorts of conversations and ideas, but those were a few things that I wanted to talk about and see what you thought as well. So let me know how you're getting along with the book, if you're still enjoying it, if you're still finding these characters and conversations interesting, or not. Are you becoming frustrated with the book, or bored, or not finding the plot to be moving along as fast as you would like? Anything like that, I'd be interested to know. So that's it for now. Please leave a comment if you would like, and thank you, and take care.